Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And as you can see, we're back here at Undercaste Studios. Thank you, as always, for having us, guys. We appreciate it. With that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles. Wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hello, I'm Kayne Dynell.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do, give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Well, my name is Kayne Dynell. I identify as your friendly neighborhood rock star, and I'm from a place called Tacoma, Washington.
Okay, so not too far from here. Yeah. Do you know a guy named 410 Noodles by chance?
410 Noodles?
Yeah.
No.
You should check him out. He's doing big things over there right now.
Okay.
But we're not here to talk about him. We're here to talk about you. What got you started into music initially?
Well, I danced actually.
Okay.
Music's kind of always been in my bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma was a hippie, and my mom, she was in hip hop kind of vibe, and so it was cool. My first concert ever was Ozfest 2007.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's pretty fun. So it was you said what?
Where did you go to see that one, if you don't mind me asking?
River Amphitheater, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I might have been at that one.
It's very possible. It was a really cool. It was In This Moment, Lordy, Ozzy Osbourne, Zach Wilde was there. I met him. I was a kid. It was second grade, I think, or something.
Was that the one with Mudvaynes and In Flames headlining?
I don't know. In This Moment and Lordy were there.
Gotcha. Okay, maybe it wasn't. I think we missed each other by 1 year then, because I went to one my freshman year of high school, which is right around that time as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, but I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. Yeah, so what got me into music really is it started with dancing in second grade. No, it was I was in drill team. I think it was fifth grade or something. It was elementary. And then from there I went into band, which was also music related, which was cool. Played clarinet. It was fun. Learned how to blow with without puffing my cheeks. That was a cool moment. And then I couldn't really read music though, so I kind of stopped doing that and got into drumline, and then got really good at that. And then they introduced me to more music. And fun fact, I can't read music, so
hey, same boat.
It's a pretty interesting situation, especially being an artist. But yeah, that's kind of what happened. Then I got into dancing. There's this dance called You're a Jerk. It's called the Reject, is what people did. But there was more to it than just that one dance move.
Yeah.
And so I jerked from 2009 to 2014. Then I met someone who was jerking's dead. You got to learn how to dance. And I started dancing. And then, long story short, tried out for a dance team. Then I didn't make it, so I made my own dance team. And I found out in dance, you also have to learn how to read music.
Really?
So that was fun. Well, yeah, because they were counting 1 and 2 and.
Oh, gotcha.
So you couldn't really avoid it no matter what.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened. I guess I just kind of went through life without knowing how to read music, but sticking to it. I did take vocal lessons and stuff. So that's kind of the origin of it, really. I've just always been in the media vibe. Music was one thing that I felt people could relate more with. Because with dancing, freestyling, super cool, and it's really cool to look at, but it's not it is relatable in a sense, but it wasn't relatable enough for me, I feel like.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because
Now, was anybody else in your household musical growing up at all? Did you have any family members that were playing instruments or doing anything like that?
That's a great question. I don't think that anyone else has really been like that in my family. At least hasn't been mentioned to the power of wanting to do something with it.
Yeah.
I think that it was just something they were always around or loved to make. My little brother, he makes music.
Okay.
Now, he's an artist.
Gotcha.
But he's kind of more like underground vibes. Yeah.
Okay, I dig that. So you're really like the first generation of it for your household.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, all my family, like my sister sings, my brother sing, or, raps.
Mm-hmm.
So they have talent in the music world, but
Yeah.
I would say that I'm the first one that's like going after it commercially for sure, yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Now, before we get into more of what you do in the present day, I do have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on.
Sure.
This first one, it's one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
First album. I don't exactly know the answer to that question. The albums that I can remember, it's kind of crazy how diverse they are. It's probably going to be, I don't know the exact name of it, but it was the Miley Cyrus one.
Okay.
I think it's called The Breakout. It was like tan, I think. It had the song Fly Away on it.
Yeah.
As well as Last Dance. Those
I'll
are both
take
good
your
ones.
word for it. I did not.
Seven Things. That's what it was. It was like around that era, like 7 Things I Hate About You kind of thing.
Okay.
That might have been what the album was called, actually. But yeah, that was a good one. And then Falling in Reverse, The Drug in Me Is You.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Definitely a good, like...
Yeah, a good duality there for sure.
Disney. So definitely, I guess people always say that I make music kind of like Disney, so it's pretty funny. I just don't cuss in my music, so...
That's fair. I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. And then I guess you already kind of answered this, but we'll just ask it again just to see if there is a different one. What was the first live show you ever went to that was like specifically one you wanted to go to? So like you saw it was happening, you got the tickets, you went to it.
Ozfest was cool. Ozzy Osbourne's a dope guy.
Yeah.
That was like kind of a mixture. I think like my mom wanted me to like hang out with the fam kind of vibes.
Gotcha. Okay.
I would say that mine, as controversial as it is, would probably like, I've seen like a lot of local artists. It's always kind of been like supporting local.
Yeah.
But like I say, like first like live show that like I would say like really had an impact on me would definitely be Chris Brown.
Okay.
I think it was like the Dope Music Festival.
Yeah.
Tacoma. That was pretty cool. I've always thought like really great things of him. It's a controversial topic for sure.
Yeah.
I agree with the music and, his talent overall, not necessarily everything that he's done in life. I know it's just like it's one of those things that people always said, you shouldn't talk about that. But
no, I mean,
I just think that he's talented. And obviously a lot of the other world does too.
Yeah. The separation of art and the artist type scenario.
Dancing, crazy at making music.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool to be able to combine that because that's what I do. And, he was inspired by Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson's definitely a big one to me too. So.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, no, like I said, I think it's a separation of art and artist kind of thing. And he's definitely, love him or hate him for any of the reasons, he has definitely done a lot. So it's worth at least acknowledging his accomplishments outside of his actions there other.
I don't support his actions, but I do think that he's very talented at what he does.
Yeah. Now, before we officially get into what you do in the present day, do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take making music more seriously?
Yeah. Well, so a friend actually messaged me and was like, yo, you should make a mixtape. And I was like, it's the last shot. Because I had been dancing for so long, and I didn't really I was on Jerry Springer for dancing.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, that was fun. And we have done, I danced when R.I.P. Nipsey Hussle, but I went and danced like in front of his store when right after he passed away.
Oh, cool.
I went on Judge Judy before that, which is kind of what made that happen, which was really fun. So yeah, just I think there was a lot of cool stuff that happened during dance. I backup danced for BB Rexa, who's really doing her thing now. Afro Man, DJ Unk, it was all kind of a cool vibe, but it didn't really feel like I was doing too much.
Yeah. Or
as far as a career goes, it just felt like we were making some great accomplishments. But dancing is a really hard thing to make a career out of.
Yeah.
And I was teaching dance and all kinds of stuff, and I just kind of felt like I plateaued. And so for me, I just my friend was like, I was actually selling life insurance. And my friend was like, you should make a mixtape. And I was like, you know what? Try it. Why not? Let's do it. January 1st, I'm dropping a mixtape. And I called it The Last Shot. I was actually very happy about it. I think part of it was actually recorded here.
Oh, cool.
Which is crazy. And yeah, it was it was an interesting situation. You can still listen to it on SoundCloud now. I'm actually working on getting, I guess this is my first public. Now I have to do it. I'm working on getting back onto SoundCloud because that is a platform a lot of people kind of like neglect, I feel like. When you get in more into the commercial space, we're kind of like taught that it's not like super serious, but I think that, like every platform is serious.
Yeah, very much so.
So anyways, yeah, so I made that mixtape, and that was kind of like my first moment where I was like, okay, and I put the money into it, which obviously making music isn't cheap.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, like this is great. This is the best thing I've ever heard because I had put so much money into it. And then from there, I kind of just like, I don't know, like I saw everybody's reactions. I threw a fashion show to like celebrate the release.
Oh, cool.
It was like a big thing. And then like, I was like, I kind of want to do this more. I feel like there's more to this.
Yeah.
And then that's where it all started.
Well, that's rad. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for sharing that. Before we officially get into it, I am a little curious then. How did the like Jerry Springer and was it Judge Brown you said?
Judge Judy.
Judge Judy, sorry.
Yeah.
How did those come to be? Like what was the scenario that led to that?
So Jerry Springer, I had an ex-girlfriend who had called me and she was like, I'm going to be the jealous girlfriend or something in this Jerry Springer episode. Do you want to be like the guy? And I was like, I mean, like, I don't know. That sounds kind of crazy, but how did you even come across this?
Yeah.
And then I did some research and it was like confront somebody. So then we like, I just kind of made some stuff up and called some friends and was like, look, so this is what we're going to do. I don't know if it's going to work, but like you crump, I dance. You could like crump and then like, if you hit me, then we could fight. Then we got there and then they were like, you guys don't look like fighters. And so then I was like, nah, damn, we just got caught. And then they were like, so what do you want to do? And then I was like, well, we're here because we want to dance. So can we just have a dance battle over the girl? And then, yeah, that's kind of what happened. We made like a Jerry Springer episode.
Okay.
Off of like, literally, we didn't even say one word. It was crazy because I met Danielle Bergoli later, which is the Catch Me Outside girl. And like, you know, she said like, Catch Me Outside, how about that? It became like crazy huge.
Yeah.
We went on Jerry Springer, probably one of the largest moments of my career, still to this day, because it was like Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
You know, R.I.P. Jerry Springer. You know, and like, we didn't say one word. It could have been like, your dance moves suck. Your mom doesn't love you. You know, and didn't say anything. It was silence and copyright music. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of what happened. We just kind of like, I kind of made the thing up and then called some friends and they were down. And I mean, you know, they flew us out. Everything was taken care of. It was really kind of just like a vacation. I got to dance in the Empire State, but that was one of my biggest goals in life, was to dance at the New York Times Square. And so as soon as we got to Connecticut, which is where they film all those shows, we took an Uber because it was like, I don't remember how long it was. It wasn't like a long time though. I think it was like 3 hours or 2 hours. It might have been shorter than that, but we took an Uber there and like 4 a.m. It was like an average day in Tacoma, but because it's New York.
Yeah.
And got to dance at the Times Square. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. All right, now let's go ahead and let's get on into you in the present day. I have a super easy one I want to get out of the way first. I feel like it's going to be easy at least. How'd you pick the name?
My name?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of, well, actually, no, it's not. Well, it is easy, I guess. So when I was dancing, there was this dancer. His name was Daniel Drum. He's from Freedom Dance Center. Shout out them. And I would take his classes and stuff, and I got to know a little bit more of his background with World of Dance and things like that. And I'd asked him like how he chose his name. And he was like, well, I like my first and middle name. And like my last name, even to this day, I don't think it's very appealing for like what I do. And so my middle name just kind of worked better. And so I was like, oh, perfect. And I even like, he had his own logo that said DJ and I kind of copied him and I put a KD. Now my logo is like this onk thing. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that was kind of what happened. I was just like, okay, Kayne Dynell, that rings. And for my choreography, because I used to be a choreographer, right, with the dance professional stuff, right? And so yeah, so I just kind of like was like, well, this choreography vibe is cool. KD, got a little circle with the KD. It just works, you know, Kayne Dynell. Yeah. And so that's kind of how we came up with the name. And then with music, it was just kind of easy to be like, okay, let's just switch that. And then we did it.
Yeah, I dig that. Well, it's a cool name. It's easy to spell. It's easy to remember. It sounds nice. So checks all the boxes. And I imagine it's easy to respond to since it's basically just your name.
Yeah. A lot of people that are closer to me will say like KD.
Yeah.
Like easier. I don't know how you could get much lazier than Kayne Dynell, but no, kidding. Nah, it's cool. It like differentiates it.
No, I feel that. And I'm in the same boat. My last name is super weird. So it just like, it doesn't look good written. It doesn't look good or like sound good said out loud. So, I mean, my middle name's not Jambox, but I get it. All right, now let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing process a little bit. And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're going to start right at the beginning. So when you get inspired, you're ready to make music. What are some of the things you do to get a track started?
Well, I think like a lot of times, so there's a lot of different ways, right? And a lot of artists aren't open about these kinds of things, but obviously I have a creative team. So it's not just me like writing the music necessarily. Like sometimes I'll come up with an idea. I have written my own songs, of course, but I like to have like a lot of people involved. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. One, a lot of people involved means a lot of people are pushing it, right? And nowadays that's kind of, talent isn't the only thing that's going to take you to the next level.
Yeah.
Nowadays there's a lot that you have to know, learn, and a lot of it is really even just like the resources you have. So, you know, when I get inspired, it might be off like a life situation, an era, a specific artist, maybe something I'm trying to capture. Nowadays, TikTok is kind of a big thing as far as like what could be cool for TikTok. I mean, it's really just kind of experimental. But for me, I made a lot of music about girls, for sure. And I think this new season of Katie or Kayne Dynell would be like kind of about like life. I feel like right now I'm in this like situation. I feel like a lot of people in the world probably are, where my life is like going up in like everything, dreams, aspirations, music, all that stuff. But then personally, there's a lot going down, whether it be health, or whatever, right? And so there's like all these weird things like you just don't consider realistic when you're on the path to being an artist. I think a lot of like music listeners don't necessarily get to hear a lot about, because there's a lot of kind of like choosing what to like filter and not filter. Because in the game and in the industry, there's like a lot of things that people say like, hey, like we shouldn't like shed light on that too much. People want to hear about like this. You know? I like to really be transparent and kind of just be like real.
I gotcha. I dig that. Now, as far as like, so you said you work with a team. Are they involved in like the beat creation side of things as well as like helping you with the lyrics, or like do they just kind of like instill kind of the like a concept of approach? Absolutely.
Well, so you know, without going crazy into depth, I work with the team called Varsity Crew Entertainment, which is my label. And then we're partnered with 58 Projects out of Rochester, New York. They do like the publishing and tagging and metadata and that kind of stuff. So with that being said, there's certain rules, like using YouTube beats. There's a lot of like back end things that people don't know about. You know, could go over it forever, but you know, there's a lot of things when using a YouTube beat that isn't the smartest. And so like even like just as far as ownership and stuff. And so team starts all the way from like the beat producer. I have personal relationships with all my beat producers for sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and that's kind of the question usually. It's just like, how do you go about picking out your beats? And then as far as like putting the words down, are you a pen and paper kind of person? Do you like to go through the phone? Do you freestyle? Like
a lot of phone notes for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'll hear melodies and stuff, you know, but maybe just not the right words. Or I think for me, like a lot of it is like I could write music, but it's going to be very baseline.
Yeah.
And we live in an age where baseline doesn't cut it. And so like you could say something like the sun is blue and it's making me happy or something, you know, and then you'll be with someone else and they'll be like, I like that melody, I like that vibe, but maybe the sun isn't blue. So like we shouldn't use that, you know, and like it could be cool.
Yeah.
Or could not be, right? But like the thing is like I've had these people that I've been working with for like for a pretty good amount of time, for sure. Like I started this journey in 2019 as a musician. So
gotcha. Okay.
And a lot of the same people are in the same correspondence. So I have a team in LA while I'm in LA, because I'm living there full time now. As well as I have a team in Washington that I worked with previously that is creatively responsible for some stuff too. Gotcha. And I have like a studio specifically that I choose to work with in Washington and a studio specific in LA.
Okay, cool. Now, what made you move down to LA? Like, I mean, other than it's just the obvious stuff?
What made me move down to LA? I think I went down there a lot throughout my life. Between working with, when I was dancing, there were brands that I was specific to, like Volato Footwear, which doesn't exist anymore. And so I went and took a lot of trips. You know, Judge Judy was in LA. There was a lot of traveling there. So I ended up going there multiple times with people even. We did a couple of things, and then I went there by myself. and I lived in a house with 25 people. Kind of crazy. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I would say I went there because I wanted to progress my career, and I felt like Washington, the Pacific Northwest sound, a lot of people, there's like a glass ceiling. And I feel that's a personal opinion of mine. And so finding the support, you have to kind of go, and this is a common thing when you go to LA, you hear people talk about it, their hometown doesn't support them as much until they're like big there.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's kind of what I understood and made happen.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you
things in LA, and I do stuff here too. I also help curate events and things like that. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Now, getting back to kind of the music creation questions. Once you get a track finished writing, so it's like it's all good that you start memorizing. It doesn't have to be like recorded and released yet, but you're able to kind of start locking it in. How long does it usually take you to feel comfortable enough to perform a track?
So essentially you're asking, when a song is finished, how long is it till I feel that it's ready to perform? Yeah,
or at least like I said, as far as finished like writing, or are you one of those people who doesn't like perform until they record and release? I guess it's kind of more open-ended, but when do you feel a track is ready to perform?
Well, for me, my process is I go to the studio, get the song like laid out, and then as long as it's recorded, I would say I'm down to perform it, but generally there's like a process. I feel like I have a pretty big process. So generally, if the song is like a rough demo, I think that's like pretty acceptable.
Okay.
But in most cases, you want it to kind of just be the finished product. I also have a lot of music.
Yeah, that is true.
It makes it really easy, I guess, to like forego certain things, you know, like I just finished something and then last week, then performing the next day that same song, unless it really means something, can probably wait because we want to deliver like more of a finished product.
Yeah.
Depending on also what type of performance it is too. Like the Viper Room, obviously, there's gonna be a lot of strangers there and stuff. But at the same time, when you perform that like raw, intimate projection of a project, some people relate to that a little better. So it's really kind of just depending on what you're trying to portray in your performance, because every performance is an experience.
No, definitely. All right, well then let's go ahead and let's talk about some of your music. So I jumped on, ye old Spotify, and now just for the people at home, we talked this morning. You kind of came in for a last minute one, so I really appreciate you doing that. But I did not get the usual amount of time I get to spend with people's music to kind of make more informed notes. But I did jump on Spotify and checked out, and you have a grip of music. It goes all the way back to like 2020 on there. It sounds like you started a little bit before that, so it's, I imagine, most of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And your sound is really cool. It's a really interesting mix of like indie rock instrumentation and a little more of like the modern beats as well. And then your vocals are really punchy. They're really tight. And they have this very melodic, very emotionally driven, just like element to them. And it's kind of been that way since the jump, at least from, like going back, you had kind of this delivery in mind, and it seemed to have kind of grow from there to the now. I mean, even on Come Up, you had this feeling, and it was really exciting and enjoyable in a lot of ways. And then all the way to your most recent track, Broke Down Hoopty, featuring Lord Infinite, and is it 7 Figure 1 Mil?
7 Figures 1 M.
Yeah. And which just came out. It came out mid-November, so a little over a month ago by the time this comes out. And it's rad. It's super chill. It's like laid back, but the vocals open up a little hotter in the beginning, and then it just turns into this really melodic and really cool track, especially the hook. I feel like the hook is really catchy. It's really, it just vibes well. And it's just, overall, it's a really solid track. Especially, I feel like it'd be a good one to drive to. That feels like the setting for it perfectly.
Yeah.
So that was my experience with that I got to sit down with your music for today. And I think it's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I am curious to know, out of all the music you have available, what are some of your favorite tracks to perform?
Cut the Cord for sure. Mm-hmm. Cut the Cord's a good one. It's very like Blink 182. Mm-hmm. It's very punk pop.
Yeah.
It's really nice that I like it because one of the main reasons why I like it is because it wins over a crowd, which is really fun because you'll get like that rock vibe, which here in Washington, I feel like there's a lot more of a hip hop influence. There's not as much, at least I didn't necessarily spend a lot of time, because with dancing, it was a lot of working with hip hop and alternative hip hop, but not too much like rock. Now I'm kind of starting to dip my feet into getting to know, I played Cantana Fest last summer and stuff. And so I think really, Cut the Cord is really fun. It really brings to where like there's this drop towards the middle or like the beginning of it, right after the hook, and it switches the genre almost. So it's very genre blendy.
Yeah.
So you perform at a hip hop show, it's like da 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 da, boom, got their eyes back, right? Yeah. Or at a rock show, it's like, oh, this is good. Oh, okay, a little bit of hip hop, all right.
Yeah.
Right, and so it's very like genre fluidy. So yeah, Cut the Cord's a good one. I really like to do. I have a new one coming out next year called Crying on Sunset. That's going to be really fun. It's very like 80s vibes.
Okay.
So it's like, I think Broke Down Hoopty was definitely like a peek into that.
Yeah.
For sure. Come Up's fun. I don't do it all the time because it's more of an original song.
Yeah, it's a bit of a throwback now.
Yeah, I recorded that on the same microphone that Lil Wayne recorded Miss Officer.
Okay.
And Lollipop. So that's pretty cool. It was in Mesa, Arizona at the Undermine Salt, or no, not the Undermine Salt, I'm here. The Salt Mine Oasis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So well, that's a cool piece of information. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that was really fun.
And then I guess, oh man, I had a question. I lost it. It'll come back to me.
Do that to people. I talk too much.
No, you're all good. You're all good. But now I want to talk about some of your new music stuff you got kind of cooking. What can we look forward to as far as like, new sounds you got going in the new year?
For sure. Well, on December 13th, we have a song, Cut the Cord, actually, I was just talking about. I have a remix with my brother, Big Boss Moolah.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be super sick.
I think that will have come out shortly before this. I think this will be early January.
Nice.
Yeah. So it will have come out a little bit ago, so I'm sure y'all have checked it out by now.
Yeah. So it's a good track. It's a fun one. I think it really merges our worlds together. And he's a guy that he actually came to Washington. There's like a lot of personal stuff. I think I'm a very sentimental person. And when it comes to music, it's really fun because there's like usually a journey that comes with that collaboration. I don't just like do features.
Yeah.
I typically try to find it. Right. So anyways, so that's really cool. I would say. And then my first release of the year is Crying on Sunset, which kind of really just captivates actually literally crying on sunset for whatever reason, as well as a double entendre of like the highs and lows thing, right? Because like you're like crying because like the sun is setting, all those good things are coming to an end, or vice versa. And it's really cool. And I think that the sound that we emulated and captured on it is going to be really different for people to hear from my normal stuff.
Gotcha. Well, definitely looking forward to that. Now I do remember the question I wanted to ask. You do have, a really cool blend of more like the indie rock sound, as well as kind of more the like main-ish sound that people are more aware of. What was the decision to kind of move in that direction? Like, did you kind of grow up on that sound and want to integrate it in? Did you find people who were doing it? How did that like blend come to be?
It's really interesting, honestly. I think that I just kind of like started seeing people. I think specifically Swaco was a big one for sure. He was doing those like kind of like studio engineered things. I mean, I've been messing with him since the beginning for sure, since like Fast, which was like his first song that kind of blew up on TikTok and stuff. But he is doing more of like the alternative rock sound. I've also listened to MGK a lot my entire life, and he started kind of doing rock, so that was like really cool. And then of course, like my grandma's a hippie, so I grew up kind of on like a rock and hip hop vibe. Honestly, like my mom was into a lot of other things too, like R&B, like Boyz II Men, those kinds of things. But I feel like well-roundedly that just kind of happened. And then with the writers and then my creation together, it kind of just started to go. And there was a team member, goes by the name of Just Ryan. He kind of really helped kind of captivate the sound as far as like figuring out what direction we would go and what would make sense. And so definitely always am thankful for him. He also helped me work on my song Rockstar. He's a part of the creation team for that too.
Gotcha. Oh yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Now I want to take a moment, then I want to zoom out. I want to look at kind of more music as a whole. Sure. What are some of the things about either new music, if you're one of those people taking in the new, or if you're not, just music that's new to you that you found recently and you enjoy and you're finding inspiration in at the moment?
New music. I think, honestly, I support I'm a very inclusive person. So I love to, in LA, it's been really fun because I've been in this alternative scene. So I've been meeting all these artists like Noah Kanane and Mod Sun. He's obviously kind of more of a household name. There's like Hey Duke, You Suck. They're doing really well. And I think a lot of it is just like actually meeting the people and going to their shows and actually supporting. I feel like in this world, there's a lot of streaming happening where you're not actually getting those up close interactions. I feel like I really, even my music, like you could hear my music online, but I promise you, if you see me at a show, it's a completely different story.
Yeah.
It's just like a better vibe. So yeah, I mean, those are just some of the names that I've met and that I listen to. Generally, I used to look for new music through like Apple and kind of like look for like the new music, but yeah, no, for me, I kind of stick to like the MGK, my team, of course, Lord Infinite, Seven Figures 1M. They're both the guys. But I think a lot of MGK I listen to right now. Honest Av, he's doing really well.
Yeah.
I like his stuff. It's very raw and like emotional, but still in that like almost commercial range, you know, which is why it's becoming commercial.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, like Mod Sun, MGK, Honest Av is definitely probably I'd say right now, Honest Av and Damien Styles are for sure two artists that I listen to pretty religiously.
Oh yeah, no, I dig
had the pleasure of meeting Damien Styles, so that's pretty cool.
Okay, yeah, that's rad. All right, now before we move into the next portion, this next question I have is probably the densest question in the interview. But we've talked about your experience with music, the actions, the reactions. But when it's just you and music one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
I think that in life, I always have so much more to answer than just the question itself.
Oh, you're all right.
I just think about the way that I'm saying things. So yeah, in life, there was a lot of things that I did to escape reality. However someone takes that. And I think that with music, it was kind of like a mix with that. And then most recently, like I'm like alcohol free for like almost 2 years now.
Oh, congratulations.
September, like a year and a half or something. Next September will be 2 years. So,
nice.
Yeah. And I think the music is like a good way to like recharge and kind of express. I'm in this weird new, and as many people probably are right now, but I feel like a lot of people are kind of going through a different season of life. And music really helps with that. I do listen to a lot of my own music to make sure that it's relatable, which is kind of like silly because of course it's relatable to me. But like, I don't know. I just make sure that it feels like there's something there because working with a creative team, it's not, I guess, what I've learned from meeting with people is their music is very like raw and like unfiltered, no team kind of thing. When you have a team, it's like you do feel that way or maybe you'll have that idea, but you still have to kind of come together with that feeling to really, and that's where the in-person performance happens, right? Because then when I perform, I'm thinking like, no, this is real. Or like a lot of times in Washington specifically, my mom's in the front row, right, for a lot of stuff. And so anyways, I think music just gives back a little bit of life, because time is one thing that is always spinning. And I feel like I'm always on a grind. I think a grind mindset is a big thing for me. And I'm learning how to just kind of like relax. And I think knowing that music can like slow that down and slow those thoughts down. I don't know. I'm kind of a person that has like a lot of thoughts in my head. And so listening to music forces me to like, yo, bro, like sing the lyrics or something. Stop thinking about all these things. So I think it just gives back like sanity.
Yeah, no, I dig that. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions. And for these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well. But this first one is pretty straightforward. If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive. Who would you want to work with and how would you want to work with them?
If I could work with one person, they have to be alive. I would say Miley Cyrus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, I think the last time I was up here last month, somebody else said that same answer here.
Yeah.
And I think that's only the third time I've ever heard her as the artist in that answer. So that is a cool twist. 2/3 of it are from here. How would you want to work with her?
I would like to collaborate on a song. That'd be cool. Or even have her be like creative force behind one of my songs. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I really feel that she shaped a lot of like me as a person and a child, especially like grew up watching Hannah Montana, all that stuff. Definitely a big Disney kid, Camp Rock, that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think Miley Cyrus would definitely be one to like make, I mean, she made a song with Kid Leroy that's probably around the same type of vibe that I would make with her.
Yeah.
But who knows, maybe my music progresses and does different genre stuff, but working with her I think would be pretty monumental, and it would also be super sentimental.
Yeah, very much so. And she is very capable as both a musical artist and like just a person who's been in it for so long. I think she would definitely bring a lot to the table and be familiar kind of with the realms of music that you're in a lot of ways. So that would be a really solid experience. Now, subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to? And because you kind of been here and in LA, you can answer for both if you'd like.
In LA and in Washington. In Washington, I think collaborating with like Swisher Sweep would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Swisher Sleep. Yeah. Yeah, he's cool. His Swish Pack vibe. He personally recommended me for the Cantana Fest and stuff too. So
cool.
That was really cool. Like I said, a lot of support hasn't really came from Washington for me. Besides like more of like personal, like always having like, there was one time where like I had to message friends to go like videos for me and stuff. Now sometimes like do it just cause, but like there was a point where like that had to happen in order to get more out kind of thing. So yeah, I would say him. In LA, honestly, I don't even know if he lives in LA, but Honest Ab would be fire.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Be cool.
Well, everybody, you know what to do. At them in the comments. Let's see if we can make it happen. For this next one, like I said before, sky's the limit, and it's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power, is guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show, and it doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere. Where would you want to perform?
The Pyramids.
Okay. Now, would you want to do it where you're on top and everybody's down in the sand? Would you want to be down on ground level with everybody else on like a stage? How would you go about that one?
Well, Russ actually just recently did it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of Russ. Huge. Love his stuff.
Yeah.
He would definitely be on the lineup too.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, exactly how he did it. But yeah, I mean, he just did performed in the middle of the pyramids in Egypt.
Okay. Yeah, I dig that. And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you want an album from?
Michael Jackson.
Okay. And would you want a certain era Michael Jackson, or would you want a right now one?
I feel like he wouldn't be right now. I feel like he had a cool direction he was going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely that type of vibe, whatever that means.
See, I would love a post-COVID Michael Jackson album.
I feel like that would be different. Yeah. Because the music would probably sound different. I mean, yeah, now Michael Jackson would be good. I mean, he would still be his record is still holding all the rest of the records.
Yeah.
And he was getting ready to go on the biggest tour of his life.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I feel like he would definitely be up there right now for sure.
Well, he has always kind of had this ability that after kind of big, tough things have happened, his music always kind of tended to bring us back a little bit. So I would have been interested to see what now would have looked like.
Right.
Yeah. All right. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. You already kind of touched on it, but let's just put it right here. What can we look forward to in between January and June of next year?
January and June. Definitely going to be working on repeating some of the same stuff that I did this year as far as the tour aspect of things.
Mm-hmm.
Don't necessarily have I think I know the name, but I'm not going to say it.
That's all right.
But that would be cool. This time here in Washington right now is my last time probably until spring. So that'll be fun, but it'll be for that tour. And then, yeah, just I think honestly, just new music with a new sound, but more genuine, raw, and emotional, while still giving that commercial, melodic, catchy vibe.
Gotcha. Well, definitely looking forward to that. For this next one, go and look straight at your camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
You can find me on all social media at Kayne Dynell, KayneDynell. That's KayneDynell. And I also have a website, www.kaynedynell.com. So make sure you come check me out, and I'll be around.
Oh, yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
Of course. Shout out Varsity Crew Entertainment, always. Shout out 58 Projects. Shout out to my mother for making me, of course. Shout out Riot Energy for keeping me energized, always. honestly, just shout out to everybody that's watching. You know, every view is like a person in the room. So you could have been anywhere else. You could have been spending this time anywhere else, but you're spending it watching this, and that means the world.
Hell yeah. Man, I need to start saying that too. I appreciate that. All right, now with that being said, we've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second. As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation. But in all of music, what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? So it's a bit of a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know.
Hybrid Theory?
Okay.
That's a good one.
Yeah, man, if y'all haven't listened to that in a while, that is just kind of a quintessential classic at this point. It's crazy to think that that's become a classic at this point, but that is definitely a quality album. All right, but with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Kayne Dynell, your friendly neighborhood rock star.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap. This is not a podcast. This is a show. Keep jamming.